Evening and welcome once again to Gaming Under the Influence. I'm Mike here with Alex, coming to you from GreenDragonCVR in Woodbridge, Ontario, to talk to you about video games. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. I've been playing a plethora of games lately.
Yeah, big pile. I've noticed that on the streams.
Oh, yeah, like freaking, it's been like ADHD, but how have you been?
Any standouts?
Definitely Tales last night. That, was super, just surprising. I mean, I remember that it was a really sick game. I remember having a really good time with it, and then at some point I just stopped. It's long, right? It's a long JRPG, but just playing it was hypnotic last time. I was I couldn't remember all the colors and the crazy attacks. I know it sounds like it's just fluff stuff, but just the act of playing it, you're wow, it blows your mind. And then on top of the great story and the mechanics of the real-time combat and all the systems, it's what a well friggin' made game. It was sick.
I enjoyed that as well, actually.
Definitely a standout.
Hope to see it through one day.
Oh yeah. And some minor weird stuff like that. Tokyo Extreme Racer 3. I've been playing SOCOM games on the PSP. I've just been all over.
That's all right.
It's been fun though. It's a good time.
Broadening your horizons, eh?
How
Why not?
have you been?
Been good, man. I finished the Ascent recently. I've been at it for maybe 2 weeks. Took me about 17 hours to finish. Really enjoyed that. I probably mentioned before, but I think it's one of the finest pieces of visual art I've seen in my life. It's great, man. It's a really well-built game. Just being in that world, very few games really, I enjoy them, let's say, but you don't walk through it and every 2 seconds you're like, wow, look at that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That game definitely conveyed that feeling, and it was really fun to play, even though I didn't really like playing it for more than an hour or so at a time. It took me a couple of weeks to get through for that reason,
I was surprised.
Despite being worth checking out for sure.
Meat and potatoes time.
The meat and potatoes time, yeah. What we intended to discuss with you today is the supposed fact, according to 343 Industries, that video games are harder to make these days, whatever that means.
Harder to make in 2022.
Yeah, this is according to a community manager on, I suppose, Halo Infinite, because they haven't made anything else, right? And Alex, I'm sure like everybody else who hears this, you're going to be kind of taken aback, but what's your initial impressions of this statement, right?
I fucking couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that. I was like, what the fuck kind of shit is this guy gonna I can't even put it into words. The fact that anyone could say, even just rumble the words, video games are harder to make nowadays in a fucking age of where we have access to
Unity and Unreal 3
so much more information. Literally, I have Unreal Engine installed on my computer, and I'm the furthest thing from a game developer in the fucking universe. And I can I've noodled with it. I've researched. There's all kinds of resources out there, whether they're free tutorials, paid tutorials. You can take online course. There's way more out there than ever before in the past, and it's just such an asinine statement that we have to kind of get into and unpack a little bit.
Absolutely,
because he listed reasons that we could probably go through one by one, and
we can talk about all that stuff for sure. Yeah,
it's just, it sounds like the most ignorant shit you could probably say, and it's clearly kind of like a damage mitigation or damage. It must be, right? For
That's
Halo Infinite
for
not being the fucking best game in the last 10 years. What did you think?
Guy's trying to cover his ass after the fact, and people kind of tore him apart when he put this on Twitter. But I think there's it's a few things to unpack, because obviously the first thing most people are going to react in terms of when they see this is that, well, fuck, just like you said, I can download Unity and make a game if I want. It seems to be much easier than ever to make a game. And I think this is absolutely true, and it gets to the heart of the fucking problem here.
And not to say that it's easy, you can just breeze through it.
That's a comparative,
exactly.
Right?
I really want to, and I've kind of looked into it.
I understand.
But I probably don't have the time. It is difficult, but
it's a comparative
like you're
term,
saying, a comparative term, it's a lot easier than ever in the history of history. I
think that's almost self-evident on a material level, but I think there's another fucking thing that this touches on. I think if we take a look at this list, we'll see that the guy is describing perhaps things that are difficult to make, but nothing that has to do with making games in as much as they're games, right? Not games per se. Games that, perhaps are the outward face of an online casino or a fucking social club.
Games as a fucking product or service, and not art or something.
I guess so.
Right?
I think right off the bat, all of this stuff, we're looking at the list right here. The guy says, there's expectations and requirements that have increased. People want more visual fidelity, online experiences. They want builds on more platforms, online support, more upgrades, this and that. They need to obey privacy laws and acceptable content, etc. Man, what we're talking about here has nothing to do with the act of conceiving and expressing an artistic idea using video games as your matter, you know? Whatever else aside, this has nothing to do with that.
No, that's all external concerns, right?
Yeah, it's concerns fucking absolutely external to the craft of making a game materially, which we're going to get into. But like, before we even touch on that, fucking art takes place when you think of a fucking idea and you have the means to express it. And when that idea is created for its own sake. That's the fucking definition we've offered you previous weeks and we keep returning to, right?
Yep.
And that being so, what does this stuff have to do with it?
What does that shit have to do with it? Yeah, I would argue that this stuff is in all the shittiest games and the worst fucking...
At the very least, no, of course, we're definitely going to argue that, but at the very least, we can argue here that this stuff is accidental or circumstantial to making of a game. I would argue it's actually in competition with making a good game, but for now, it's sufficient to argue a good game doesn't need to have any of these things, right?
Yeah.
Why do you need to make...
Especially
if visual fidelity is making it hard for you to make a good game, then you make less visual fidelity. Like the guys who like Monolith.
Think about it. In a world like nowadays where, in the AAA space, you're getting stuff like that, anime art style, beautiful fucking art, whatever. But even as far as going in the indie scene, indies are more popular than ever before, and some of them are imitation pixel games. Like,
yeah, they are.
So who's talking about 8K asset creation? The only thing I can think of is that is, again, what he's talking about is industry stuff. Like, you're working for a company, you're probably going to start doing 8K assets right now to like future proof. That's just smart thinking business wise.
Sure, maybe.
Right. But again, dudes in a basement making a pixel game.
It has nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah, those are different senses. Like that's work. That's part of
I think anybody who's using the word game probably means, though, even if they don't mean in this like fucking well worked out like classical sense of art that Aristotle would have approved of, they're probably referring to something the same. They don't mean to say, not even this guy colloquially, like my video game equivalent of an airport novel that I actually just made for money. Like even he doesn't mean to refer to that. He means to say games, like the expressive medium, video games, right? And in that sense, if these things truly did make it harder for you to make a game, then they're bad for the game. Then get rid of them. It's not harder to make a game. It's harder to make stuff with increased visual fidelity. It's not harder to make a game. It's harder to make things with improved online experience. What does that have to do with making a game? Do you want us to give you a list of 50 great games made by like 2 dudes that came out recently that had none of these things? Anyone can do
that's
it, right?
fair. Yeah,
Give me
exactly.
a fucking break. This stuff is totally tangential. At the very least, tangential, if not opposed to the making of a good game. Right?
Economic bullshit to make more money, right?
It's all secondary stuff.
The game being a storefront, the game being a fucking
that's right.
multiplayer shooter
we've
with
touched
seasons.
on this before too, though, right? Like, remember, I probably mentioned to you before, like fucking men, a guy who's like a fucking incredible technical, let's say, painter, he can photorealistically paint your face and you can see the fucking pores in the picture, okay? Versus some caveman scrawling on the wall. If that fucking guy is thinking to himself, I've conceived this thing, it deserves expression insofar as itself it has merit, and he scrawls his fucking painting of a horse or some shit on the wall.
Yeah.
And this guy here is like, I'm gonna make myself an NFT, and it's gonna make me some fucking bank, bro.
Oh,
that guy, the caveman, is the artist, okay? And all your fucking talent is it's an impediment to the expression of any good idea, and it's just been made into a prostitute for a bad one, right? That has nothing to do with art. You could be as technically competent as you want, you could do all of these things, but the fucking expression of an idea in the requisite matter, which is what making a game consists in, I think even these people would agree if you press them on the point, it has nothing to do with these things, right? This is accidental to the making of a good game, or the expression of a good idea in video game matter.
I think
that's the first. That's just conceptually, bro. That's everything. Even if we don't touch on history and what's going on in the world right now, it doesn't need to have this stuff. If you're telling me it's bad for it, then it shouldn't have it, right? You're choosing this over your work. You're being unfaithful to your artistic idea, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a failure in the conceptual level already.
I gotta say, man, I think the worst offender of everything he said has to be the point of new laws / regulations which change all the time across various countries, privacy, acceptable content, etc. So what's he talking about here? We know, right?
I think that takes us to the next fucking thing, doesn't it? That like all these conceptual considerations aside, which would be true in any historical era, in any artistic medium, fucking shit like this is accidental to it. Now we can come to our time where we fucking live, look around and say, what the hell are you actually talking about?
Yeah.
It is easier than ever to go on the internet, download an engine,
Yep.
Fucking watch some guy on YouTube and figure out what the fuck you're doing. You don't even need to know how to code to pump out a game, bro. There's infamous cases of people on Steam selling games for a lot of money made with pre-made assets.
Yeah, like
you know what I mean?
Gary's Mod stuff and shit
Tons
like
of
that.
shit
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, yeah,
what are
for
you,
sure.
guy?
For
You
sure.
don't what? It's literally ludicrous what you're saying. It's easier than ever to conceive and make a game due to
Basically-
the material conditions that prevail nowadays.
Yeah.
Widely accessible tools that are free and the abundance of information that everyone can access.
Like I said, even if you don't have money to pay for it, you can find YouTube tutorials. They have all kinds
It's
of
free.
free
You can
stuff.
do it for free,
You can
yeah.
even pay for even
Some
more
of the most
fucking,
successful
you know?
games of our time were made before they even had a budget, bro.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, that's true.
By people who had no idea how to make a game.
I've seen
by no
countless
idea. Yeah.
documentaries by people who fucking slaved away and created their dream game with
For
team
sure.
of,
Like, fuck, even
one,
Disco Elysium,
two,
bro. Stardew
4,
Valley, man.
Like
Fucking
10
give me a
people,
break.
whatever. Yeah, exactly.
This
It's-
Hellpoint that I played last year. These are excellent games.
He's basically
You know?
describing like working for like a corporation that produces AAA.
No, I
video
get that,
games.
but then-
which obviously,
then
right?
these 2 points, the point we just made and the point we're making now seem to be related, right? Like material conditions support the creation of fucking video game art, like we just described it, you know? They totally do. It's easier than ever to fucking express an idea with this shit, okay? It seems like then we have to fucking ask ourselves, why is this guy associating this shit with video games? What is he
Yeah.
trying to make, right? Like,
I mean, it's
formally
clearly
speaking-
not working.
No, I think this gets down to fucking, you know, the stuff you mentioned about privacy laws and regulations, okay?
Yeah.
What this guy is talking about is not making a game.
No.
Like we just said, games, the material conditions and the fucking conceptual considerations involved in making them, it's never been easier to do so. Never been easier to come up with an idea and express it in that matter.
Yeah.
It fucking is harder. I think what we should rephrase this. What he's actually saying is, it's not that it's harder to make this or that. It is harder to make a digital storefront slash online social club slash casino than it is to make a video game. That's what you mean to tell me here.
Pretty much,
okay?
yeah. A digital storefront
You want to
slash,
make an infinite money printing machine akin to the
Live
video game version of
service.
the Marvel universe, right? Where
Yep.
people check in every once in a while
Ever
for
changing.
a faster cadence of updates, and they can fucking continually be bled for fucking money. But bro, none of this has to do with making a game.
loot boxes, season
None of it.
passes, skins.
And here's where I
What
would
else?
say, not only are alternate considerations potentially fucking accidental, not only is it accidental to do something if it's bad for your art, these things specifically, you're describing ways in which the thing you're making is no longer for its own good.
Yeah, it's not-
It exists for some other shit.
Yeah.
Crossplay? Fuck, who gives a fuck about that? What are you talking about? You know, go work for a real company then. How about that, bro? Don't work for Microsoft if you want to make a real game. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
no, genius.
Exactly.
What the
yeah.
fuck are you?
Exactly.
Literally, man. Look around
This
you.
is
Like,
the point we're at nowadays.
how do
It
people
really
say these things? You know?
Yeah, it's literally like we could go through this list and basically say all the games made in recent times that have to take this stuff into consideration suck because they're taking this bullshit into consideration. Like, that's how I'd put it.
They
When
do
you think
suck.
like Halo was like a legacy game that like 1, 2, 3 were fucking amazing, right? And just like looked back at with fondness by unanimously, all right? Maybe except you, but
Even I don't mind those, actually, truly.
No, they're
I
great
think they're
games.
pretty
Yeah,
good
you
games,
can't
yeah.
deny it, exactly.
Even if I don't really like
Infinite
fucking,
was never gonna
No.
lead up to that because
Dude,
they're
you
not
can't fucking
building
sell it to
that.
somebody else
Yeah,
and make a new one.
exactly. It's not.
Art is not a prostitute you pass between
No.
greasy old men, bro.
No,
it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't fucking happen. And the fact that 343 is openly saying that games are hard to make because, well, this is exactly the shit you're taking into account that is destroying games, right? It's all the economic,
Here's the thing,
inserted
man.
shit.
These are reasons you're
You know?
describing that the thing doesn't exist for its own sake anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It exists to fucking do all
to
this other
satisfy this
bullshit,
market,
man.
to be the next
You know?
water cooler for Xbox.
It definitely
so
can't
people-
be a good game anymore.
Yeah,
You're describing something else. You're describing, to me, it looks like some kind of fucking digital social club themed after Halo. You know? With a with storefront,
digital
right?
amusement park.
That's it, man. It's fucking Halo themed. You're laughing, but it is. It's Halo themed Disneyland.
Fuck.
That's what it is.
No.
Are you literally going to tell me it's not? Look
Well,
at
that's
that.
why I'm
I'm
laughing.
serious. What is that?
I know.
You know? These games are like that. That's what they're building. They're not making a game.
No.
You know, a game is supposed to be like a novel. It's a fucking thing with its
fuck.
own inner life and
know.
logic, bro. It's like
God.
looking at a butterfly, the fucking way it has parts
I just
that
had the
cohere
worst
and work together.
realization in the fucking universe. Oh man.
A game should be like an organic being.
No wonder
you know?
I've been buying games off of eBay for the last couple of days.
I understand, but I think
games.
it's a real thing, man. It's not any longer as though this fucking guy is describing the creation of a new thing with its own like a being, like with its own fucking life and inner principles. He's describing a way that they built this like cardboard cutout town.
It's like everything he's saying is right if you replace game with
storefront
slash
social
service.
club.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Fuck. Oh man.
The legal requirements for making a way for us to bilk you have increased. Yeah, and this is where it comes to the fucking fore.
Random
Like,
item loot boxes.
obviously, when you look at something like this, new laws and regulations, what are you talking about? Where are you publishing this? Literally, in China? Where else do you need to get it approved?
I would say, yeah, like the acceptable content that probably relates to China,
And even then,
and
what
even in
kind
the
of
West,
content?
even in the West, and privacy and whatever other laws and regulations, because Europe is really all in on sort of hampering some of the laws with loot box and stuff. I've heard in Europe,
but that's
and
not
that's
a
what he's
game.
talking about. And exactly, that's not a
you,
game,
man.
Exactly,
Are you-
exactly.
Shut the fuck up.
Like, you know, the next Overwatch 2 is actually just going to be a free to play game.
I didn't know there was another Overwatch, and moreover,
You
I
knew-
don't know
you knew
why there
because
should
we've
be an
talked
Overwatch.
about it before. You
I
just-
must have blacked
Yeah,
out. I must
exactly.
Have, I must
You
have drank myself
smartly-
into a stupor
yeah,
that day.
Just blacked it out, and I don't blame you because oh god. But anyway,
Man, it's
this is embarrassing. For somebody in the industry to say, like, we obviously know you're not talking about making.
anything resembling a video game.
Yeah, like,
Anything
does
resembling
anybody fucking? I don't know, man.
that. We're at 17 minutes of actual video.
Yeah, we're good. Well, we can like.
Yeah. A few more.
Yeah.
I think probably we should try and tie all these ends together. And to me, it seems like then fucking the idea is if you're describing something that doesn't have its own intrinsic merit, whether it's a game or any other kind of fucking thing, you're not describing something decent. And it's not harder to make those things, moving on to the next point, in a material sense. It's easier than ever. It's only hard if instead of trying to make a game, i.e. express your artistic concept in video game matter, if instead of trying to do that, you're trying to build some kind of MC Universe style, infinite money printing machine, social club / online
Yeah, you're
casino.
gonna have a bad time.
You know? You're gonna have a bad time, yeah.
It's not really a game.
Because what you're building is like spitting in the eye of God. It's an affront to nature. Like it shouldn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
And obviously, this is because, you know, I'm sure there's some heat going down on look it up. Halo Infinite went through, like, I think at least 3 directors. Like, just a fucking
Can I ask you?
disaster
How could guys?
I remember because I remember specifically sending you the article every time a director left.
I remember multiple times saying,
and it was more than once.
More than once, yeah.
So it was like
What I can't believe,
a disaster.
Why the fuck would you sit down, you know, being a hardworking fellow, you come home from your fucking job, and you sit down to piss away precious moments of your life on this fucking
Halo?
shit? Why?
Because as someone who has done it, because a part of you believes, like, you know, hey, this is the next Halo, like it.
But what?
It is
all the
gonna
value
be-
of that? It's illusory.
It
man.
is.
It's a
It is.
brand.
It absolutely
You
is.
can't
Yeah.
sell what
No,
made
it's
that
gone.
good.
It's
it can't
gone.
be given
No.
between people,
100%.
right?
I agree with you. 100%.
It doesn't. It's not like
It's not
that.
the same, and that's
You know?
why I haven't spent any more time on it.
And
'cause
in fact, it's
you play
interesting
it and you're
because-
like, yeah, I'm at Halo Disney World, like you said, and then you're
The reason why it can't be passed to a new man to make a new one that's actually good is the same reason why your fucking artistic idea can't tolerate external influences of, for example, somebody's desire for an improved online experience.
Yeah.
The thing has its own individual laws and internal logic. It's a creature inside of the head of the guy who conceived
The guy who's making
It's
it.
part of him.
I've said it
You
from
know?
day one.
You can't give it to somebody, bro.
Yep.
It's yours. It's in your mind, right? Like
any game that says they're working with the community to, like, develop the actual
fucking
game.
fundamentally
Nope, I'm out.
misunderstand
I'm
the way
out,
that
dude.
artistic creation
Fucking-
works.
yeah,
I'm
out.
sorry.
I'm out.
You know, as though it's a democracy. Like,
yeah,
come
I'm
on,
out,
man.
dude. That's why I hate, which is dear to me. I fucking grew up playing multiplayer shooters, and they actually are just disastrous nowadays because all of them are like, and we want to know what the community likes. So you give us feedback. No. Somebody shut the fuck up and just make the damn thing and make it
You know
how
what
you
else,
think
though?
will be good, and it will probably be good because
Straight up.
every game I've played that was a shooter that was good growing up was made by dudes who made their
didn't care
own
what you
decision.
thought about it,
They
yeah.
didn't give a fuck what we said.
But you know
As
what
soon
else
as
though, man?
This happened.
It's
yeah,
not just
anyway.
shooters, man. Fucking
I know.
nowadays, this
yeah.
Elden Ring, for example. How
Yeah,
many
fair
times have
enough.
they janked it up? Why, bro?
Fair enough.
You know,
I just use that example because shooters are like the most bastardized product in gaming right now.
They are.
They all have battle passes, season passes, loot boxes, loot
Yeah.
crates, loot fucking this, skins,
They are the
that.
worst, yeah.
Fucking
Them or sports
and
games,
it
it's
hurts
close.
me because that
It's
was
close.
one of my,
Yeah.
I grew up playing Call of
but
Duty,
surely there's
Battlefield,
still some
fucking
indie
Halo,
ones that
everything.
you can probably find some
Probably.
great
You know
indie
what? I
shooters
probably
out there.
haven't looked enough, but yeah, probably. You're probably right.
It's like everything else,
Yeah.
bro. Just like everything else. You
Yeah.
can't go to the fucking bookstore and find
just
some
gonna play
fucking Stephen
fucking-
King book and expect to have a good time. Okay?
I'm just gonna play SOCOM 2 for the rest of my life.
You don't go to the cinema and watch Thor and expect to see something other than a steaming pile of fucking maggot-ridden horse
I mean,
shit.
a lot
You know
of
what I
people
mean?
would argue that you're wrong.
I know that they would say this, but like I think for the reasons I just explicated, right? Like these are things not created for any intrinsic merit of the concept. They're created specifically to have a product ready to sell you.
Like I said,
in spite of its deficiencies,
he's
right?
not speaking about creating a game because if he
Yeah.
is, then it's an asinine statement to say the least, and almost
No, that-
everybody
that's-
in the
that's the
universe
thrust of our
would
argument here,
fucking
yeah.
tell you that. He's talking about working for a massive AAA game studio
Making an
that
online
has to take into
casino.
account 8K asset creation because they need to be, a couple steps ahead in the future. They'll eventually have to work. Not right now, but they will need it at some point if they want to sell you Halo Infinite on the Xbox Series XX9, whatever the hell.
Guy,
I can't even imagine what
Who
the
cares
future-
about
yeah.
this? Just launch a game, man.
Dedicated servers, obviously.
What are
That
these
again,
people-
that's like a business consideration. If you want to keep your product alive, yeah, you need dedicated servers. Online security, for sure. You got to keep the hackers out, right? There's all this stuff. Again, it just literally fucking directly proves that what he's saying is not that it's hard to make a game. It's that it's hard to build a product, like you said, a storefront.
To me,
something that
to me, it's just you're just arguing that games shouldn't have any of this shit, which I agree.
Oh, 100%.
because it makes them shit. Like
I think
I
ultimately,
understand. Like, I
think
agree.
ultimately that's the point we're getting to.
Sure,
and I would
fucking
even go
go
as
make-
far to say as, like I was saying, the community thing, where you're balancing
Yeah.
the game based on the
No.
community. No. You're a studio of fucking. Get 24 guys, play some goddamn matches, balance the fucking thing, figure it out. You know what I mean?
Nah,
It's
you
not
shouldn't.
up to us to tell you some
No,
guy on
no,
a keyboard. "No, I think this is blah, blah, blah,
you're
blah."
right.
Like,
You're
what
right.
the fuck is this? Like,
You're right.
You're the company making the thing. Fuck off. Don't defer to us. Do your thing.
I think that follows specifically from the fact that it's a concept in his mind, and if he
Yeah.
fucking asks you for support, he's literally violating the compact between
Yeah.
him and his creature, right? His artistic creation.
Maybe it
That
is true when people say the golden age is gone.
Well, I think fuck,
But we
man.
still
The
get
golden
nuggets.
age,
We
the
still
golden
get
age
nuggets.
can very well be. I was thinking about this just yesterday.
Yeah.
It's going to come time for us to say 2022. I think we said this already. Is the new 2019 because this year a lot of great shit.
There's been
came
a lot
out.
of good stuff,
A lot
yeah,
of
for sure,
fucking
for sure.
excellent shit, man. And the only thing that sucks is fucking a certain kind of thing made by certain people in a certain part of the world. You know?
Yeah.
They may be the people with the most money and the biggest fucking mouths and the most
Yeah.
intolerable faces. I'll give you that. But they're not everybody. You know?
Nope, not
and while
everybody,
these
for
fucking
sure.
goons go on and on and on about this, like putting out fucking shit and failing abjectly,
Yep.
everybody else marches along and makes great
Doing
stuff.
their fucking
You know?
shit.
Yeah. Whether they're alone or whether they have a team of 10 or even a team of a few hundred people. And they don't fucking care about any of this. You know?
Nope.
Think of how many games did not have 8K assets, had no online experiences, were for one platform, crossplay, they had no updates, they didn't have any
Cross-progression.
fucking privacy laws because they're a game,
It's a
bro. What are you
game, yeah.
talking about? You know? New tools, shut the fuck up.
Again, business
I can't-
considerations, right?
How do
Yeah.
you sympathize with this? And this
Yeah.
is probably coming from somebody who says, yes, we need all this stuff, but also I'd like to work 6-hour workdays and have some work-life balance. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
oh my God. Just awful. I guess we could leave it at that, you know?
Yeah.
You know, in summary, none of these things actually have anything to do with the creation of video games. And materially speaking, it's easier than ever to make a video game, though perhaps harder, to make a fucking online casino/social club with 8K assets.
Yeah. People are sick of this shit. Not just us.
Not just us, though us perhaps more than others.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. That is definitely true.
Well, thank you guys very much for tuning in. We hope you had a great time and take care of yourselves.
Oh, yeah.